my name's Zach, and today I'll be presenting, my T1A3 command line application, which is a Pomodoro application. So we'll start off with my implementation plan. It was pretty straightforward, really. So this is the plan for my implementation plan, but yeah, it was just to outline each feature. So yeah, basically, I know I'm gonna make a Pomodoro timer. So what does that mean functionally? So I'll need a way to display the time. I'll need a way to get user inputs, et cetera, et cetera. And that leads me on to my second checklist item, which is basically yeah, just create a checklist for each feature. The checklist items, obviously, representing the functionality for that particular feature and prioritizing the implementation of each feature. And I really just did that by providing deadlines for each feature. I made the deadlines for the most important features come first, especially if they were necessary for subsequent features. And I did fall behind, so I also used color coding on my Trello board to signify yeah, very urgent, high priority things. So yeah, I started off with Asana, but I switched to Trello for my project management. But yeah, so we can see here my Trello board. I believe this was the end of my first day on the assignment. So yeah, so we can see the to-do column, doing column, done column, which is a pretty nice way of representing things. So yeah, so it's a very high level overview. I use Trello for, but as a project morphed as I went on each day, I got much more granular with my project management. Really, I added a lot of checklist items on each on not each, sorry, but on a few of the items on my Trello board. But yeah, we can see feature one, feature two, feature three, for example, set Pomodoro timer, et cetera, writing the test. But as I went on along the project, I started to add checklist items, not just to the features, but to other things that warranted it, just because I felt that it really helped me organize my thoughts and allowed me to execute more effectively. So just a general overview of my application. So it's based on the Pomodoro method, which really is just a way of working, a way of focusing, really. So it's usually 25 minutes of focused work followed by a 5-minute break. And people usually do a few of these Pomodoros, they call them back to back, before before they take a long break, really. The long break typically being for 15 minutes. It's been shown to improve focus and productivity for a lot of people. I use it. I use it all the time, really. I can attest to it, which is why I wanted to build the app. Actually, it's something that I can personally use, and especially with regards to the file writing capability of my application, which I'll be expanding upon in the coming weeks, so that I can visualize my Pomodoro data as well. But yeah, so this application functions in a terminal. We can set our work and break times, and the user is alerted to the start of a break time and the start of a Pomodoro time with sound alerts, notifications. The user can assign Pomodoros to specific tasks. They can name a task and assign a Pomodoro to that. And the data is written to a CSV file as well, which I will be expanding upon in the future. But yeah, so the features. Features are pretty straightforward. The user can set a cycle length. So cycle length here refers to how many Pomodoros before the user takes their long break. So going back to the typical example I gave. So typically people have a cycle length of 4 where they do 4 Pomodoros before they take their long break. So the first 3 Pomodoros, for example, will be 25 working minutes followed by a 5-minute break. And then on the fourth Pomodoro, you'll have your usual 25-minute working time, and then you'll have your long breaks. It could be 15 minutes, 20 minutes, whatever the user likes, really. So the next feature is setting a task name for the Pomodoro cycle, and also setting work time and break times. That's for the short break and for the long break. And I'm alerting the user with sound alerts when break/work time start, and I'm writing the Pomodoro data to our CSV file. So functionality. Yes, so I split all my functions and well my functionality into separate modules to separate the concerns. So in this particular function, we get user input for the Pomodoro settings. So it's pretty straightforward. So I've just got the one function in there, Pomodoro length, and just a whole bunch of while loops. The while loops infinite loops, and we'll just keep printing the print statements, and I'm asking for input until the user enters something appropriate. So I added a little bit about what the Pomodoro timer involves and what a cycle length is. So for the first while loop, we get the cycle length as input, enter how many Pomodoros you want in this cycle. And once we get appropriate input, we convert the cycle length to integer type and break out of the while loop. Same thing for our work time in minutes, exact same thing, converting to integer input, and same thing for our short break time in minutes and our long break time in minutes. So we convert all of them to integer input, and we also make sure that things that we expect everything really in here is supposed to be a number. So we make sure that it's a digit, and we make sure that the input is empty. And then yeah, we return all those values. Actually, no, this is no. Actually, no. I think yeah. Microsoft PowerPoint that I use on OneDrive is really laggy. It's not letting me update my slides. But yeah, this is the updated Run Pomodoro app, Run Pomodoro function. Sorry. So yeah, just a for loop where we iterate through the cycle length, and yeah, for each Pomodoro in the cycle, we show the countdown timer. And after that, we enter our short break, provided we haven't reached the very last Pomodoro, of course, and we print that the short break timer has started to the console, to the terminal, sorry, and start counting down the short break. And then we play the alert at the end of that to signal the start of the next work cycle, the next Pomodoro. And once we do reach the very last one, we won't be doing that. Obviously, we'll print the long break timer starting, play the long break sound, print the long break timer countdown, and also we play that very last sound to signify the end of the cycle as well, which is the same audio file as the short break really. And yeah, the countdown function just displays our timer to the command line. There. Yeah, writing the data to CSV is pretty straightforward. Importing the OS and CSV libraries again. So yeah, so if it's the very first Pomodoro, we add the headers to the CSV file, and we do that by checking if the file exists, of course, and using with open, we write the CSV to the file, and if the file doesn't exist, we write the headers. If the file does exist, or if the file doesn't exist, we write the headers, and then we continue to write the Pomodoro data. And if the file already exists, we don't have to worry about the headers, of course. So yeah, this is the main function for starting the Pomodoro. So this is where we get the input to enter the task, and then we get all our data from the Pomodoro length function, and we create our Pomodoro dictionary that holds our data. We check to see if tasks already exist, because if they do, we want to append that Pomodoro data to that particular task, since we want to collect the statistics for that as well. And yeah, we just call our write to CSV functions. This is all wrapped in a try and except clause. What I've done is I've allowed the user to still be able to write their Pomodoro data to the CSV should they escape with a keyboard interrupt, so Command C or Control C. Yeah, and yeah, so this is my main.py file, which runs the application test. So this is our dependencies. Yeah, so the test was pretty straightforward. We wanted to make sure that the cycle length, the work time, the short break time, and the long break time is what we expect. So we make sure that our functions are correctly handling user input. I use the patch functionality from Python's unit tests, along with the side effects, which is yeah, pretty interesting. But yeah, just asserts that what we've set in the side effects, the arguments we've set in there are equal to the arguments provided by our Pomodoro length function. This test was just to check our file writing to the CSV. So we just make sure that everything that we've described in this line over here mock data that we assert that in. So we just define the behavior of the mocks in input mock side effect line, and then we also mock the file's existence. So we want to simulate a non-existent file to see how the first Pomodoro is handled. We call the function, the start function, and then we get all the calls called on by the on the writer function, and we just make sure that the very first thing that's written is the header file, and we make sure that the next thing that's if the Pomodoro.csv doesn't already exist, and we make sure the next that's written is our Pomodoro data. Yeah, there's no real way to like check that. Of course, because of the fact that we are using timestamps and we're using time and like we're generating dynamic data. There's no real way to check like the timestamps and whatnot of our Pomodoro data, but we can check that the general structure of the string that's being written to our CSV file is what we expect. So the sources I use were mainly I'm just reading the official documentation for the various modules afforded by Python, especially the unit test framework and the unit test mock library, because it took a while for me to wrap my head around that, because most of my testing is testing for like user input. So I'd have to mock that really. And yeah, just a variety of blog posts as well on the things that I struggled with at first, or like issues that I ran into. For example, getting absolute path in Python, which I ran into when I ran my bash script for the first time, and my bash script is not in my source directory. So yeah, et cetera, et cetera. Challenges. So formatting information in a useful way was a challenge, like a big challenge I ran into, because I wanted to incorporate data visualization, but left that out of my assignment. I'll be implementing it in the future, but yeah, I ran into issues using pandas and matplotlib and etc. To try to get the data that I write to the CSV to match to yeah, like how I want to represent it really. But yeah, my favorite parts, familiarizing myself with some of Python's built-in modules is really cool. Like file writing, datetime, of course, mocking user input, and Python's unit test library, as mentioned earlier, was really cool. And just generally getting familiar with test-driven development and like the philosophy behind it. I like never written tests really up until we have just recently covered it in class, but doing this assignment has really helped me understand that. And of course, no CSS on this assignment. So now I'll demonstrate my application. We'll try to set up the game now. I'll make a directory. Let's call it Pomodoro app. And we'll clone repository. All these instructions will be in my my README. I'll fast forward this just to save time. And we'll switch into our directory, and I believe we have to get our permissions. And yeah, no, we can run our bash script now. And I'll fast forward the downloading of the dependencies to save time again. And in future, yeah, if we need to upgrade the pip install, we can do that. I believe I did in my virtual environment. Not sure why that's happening. But let's just call this test actually, just to show the functionality. If the user doesn't enter anything, it tells them that they must enter a task name and try again. So we'll go test, and tells the user about what Pomodoros are, what cycles are, what cycle lengths are, etc., and asks how many Pomodoros you want in this cycle. Just to show the functionality again, I won't enter anything, just press enter, and it says it just repeats the prompt, and if I don't put a digit number, it says that I still need to enter my prompt, so I'll just put 2, And how many minutes would I like to work? Let's just say one. And let's just say one. Let's just say one, just to show the functionality. And I'll fast forward this towards the break times, of course, just to save time, just so that we can hear the alerts. Yep, that was the alert for our short break timer starting. Yep, and that's the alert for our work timer starting again. So we're on to our second Pomodoro. If you remember, I made the cycle length 2. So after this Pomodoro, we should go straight into our long break. And that's our long break timer started for our 1 minute. So after the long break, the cycle is over and the application, yeah, basically finishes, exits. Um, I've also added just one more sound after the long break, just to let the user know that the long break's over. So if they want to boot up the application again, but yeah, it's the same alert sound as my short break. I should have probably made it something different, but yeah, I'll update this application in the future for my portfolio. And there we go, the end. Thank you.